Today's episode could save you from a very common and very misunderstood health mistake. We're diving into a supplement that many people swear by, yet many also misuse completely. Magnesium glycinate. You've probably heard it praised for better sleep, calmer nerves, and relaxed muscles. But here's the truth. If you're taking magnesium glycinate the wrong way, you might be sabotaging your body instead of supporting it. The worst part, you may not even know it's happening. That's right, Mark. This is one of the most ironic issues I see in practice. People come in complaining that they've been doing everything right. They're eating better. They've added supplements like magnesium glycinate to their routine, yet they still feel foggy, anxious, or tired. Sometimes they even report new symptoms: muscle twitches, bloating, or disturbed sleep. At first glance, it doesn't make sense. But when we dig deeper, we often find they're making one critical mistake with how they take this supplement, or maybe two. These aren't small issues either. They can cancel out the benefits of magnesium entirely. In some cases, they can actually make things worse. I want to get to know you better. Write your name and which city you are watching from in the comments below. This episode isn't about scaring you off magnesium. Far from it. In fact, magnesium glycinate is one of the most bioavailable, gentle, and effective forms of magnesium out there, precisely why it has become such a superstar in the wellness world, particularly here in the States. We love it because it's chelated, meaning the magnesium mineral is bound to the amino acid glycine. That glycine compound isn't just there to ferry the magnesium across the intestinal barrier. It's also a powerful inhibitory neurotransmitter in its own right, meaning it naturally promotes relaxation and tranquility. That binding process helps minimize the common digestive side effects often associated with cheaper, less effective forms like magnesium oxide, which tends to pull water into the colon and, shall we say, accelerate things quickly. That's why magnesium glycinate is often touted as the perfect solution for winding down at the end of a stressful day in the corporate world or after a heavy workout at the gym. But high bioavailability is only half the battle. If you actively interfere with the processes your body needs to utilize that magnesium, you turn a highly effective nutrient into expensive, non-functional powder. When people experience continued restlessness, unexplained headaches, muscle cramping that won't resolve, or wake up groggy and more tired than when they went to sleep, while actively taking this supplement, it's a clear signal of absorption failure. They wrongly blame the supplement, claiming it doesn't work for them, when in reality the issue lies squarely in their protocol. They are unknowingly sabotaging the very chemistry they are trying to fix. And there are three primary culprits for this sabotage, two of which are incredibly common in the American lifestyle. The first major barrier to absorption is the digestion barrier itself, specifically low stomach acid. Many people assume that because magnesium glycinate is chelated, the body can simply scoop it up and carry it away. But that's not true. This complex, even though gentle, still requires adequate hydrochloric acid, HCl, or stomach acid, to break down and dissociate the bond between the magnesium and the glycine. Think of HCl as the key that unlocks the nutrient. If your stomach acid levels are low, that magnesium compound doesn't get properly broken down. It just passes through your digestive tract largely intact and unabsorbed. This is incredibly common, particularly in older adults, individuals under chronic stress, or, most critically, anyone who uses acid blockers, PPIs like omeprazole or other common antacids, regularly. If you are taking medication to suppress acid production and then trying to absorb magnesium, you are operating against yourself. What happens when the supplement passes through unabsorbed? You get the exact symptoms magnesium glycinate is supposed to avoid: intestinal irritation, bloating, gas, and perhaps even loose stools, leading you to conclude the supplement is irritating your gut, when in fact, the root cause is poor breakdown in the stomach. You didn't give your body the tools, the acid, needed to access the ingredient. The second critical error is what I call the traffic jam problem, mineral competition. This is perhaps the most insidious mistake because it's often hidden within daily routines, especially for those who rely on a comprehensive daily regimen of supplements. Your small intestine has specific, limited transport channels designed to absorb different types of minerals. When you take several highly charged minerals simultaneously, they crowd the entry points, creating a competitive traffic jam where only a few can pass through. If you take your magnesium glycinate at the exact same time as your multivitamin, your calcium supplement, or high doses of iron or zinc, you are actively blocking the absorption of the magnesium. Calcium, in particular, is a major competitor. Many people take a combined calcium and magnesium supplement hoping for maximum benefit, but they often end up absorbing very little of either, particularly the magnesium, because calcium is prioritized by the body in high concentration. To ensure maximum bioavailability, magnesium must be isolated. You absolutely must allow a minimum of 2 hours separation, I prefer 3, between your magnesium dose and any doses of calcium, iron, or zinc. If you don't respect this separation, you might only be getting 10% to 20% of the potential dose into your system, leaving you foggy, tired, and wondering why your $30 bottle of magnesium isn't doing anything but passing right through. We've covered the mechanical failures, the stomach acid barrier, and the mineral traffic jam. But the third sabotage mechanism is often the most counterintuitive: timing and dosage errors. Most people treat magnesium glycinate like a sleeping pill, but it isn't a sedative. It's a systemic nutrient that supports relaxation. Taking it just as you get into bed is often far too late for it to have a meaningful calming effect on your entire nervous system. Furthermore, many individuals exceed 500 milligrams thinking more is better, immediately triggering bowel sensitivity, while others take such a small dose they never feel the benefits. This critical balance, where you time the dose to maximize its neurological impact and use an effective, non-irritating amount, is the key to unlocking its full restorative power. But there is an even more pressing safety concern that most consumers completely overlook, something that, if ignored, can lead to dangerous levels of mineral buildup and potentially serious health complications, especially if your body's filtration system isn't running perfectly. This final critical warning defines who should and absolutely should not be experimenting with higher doses of magnesium without professional oversight. This final critical warning defines who should and absolutely should not be experimenting with higher doses of magnesium without professional oversight. If you have any history of kidney problems, even mild non-dialysis requiring renal impairment, you need to step back. Your kidneys are the ultimate filtration system, responsible for regulating mineral balance and safely excreting any excess magnesium that your body doesn't use. If that system is compromised, even slightly, that excess magnesium doesn't get flushed out. It stays in your bloodstream, leading to hypermagnesemia, which can become incredibly serious, causing symptoms like dangerously low blood pressure, severe nausea, and critically interference with cardiac conduction. This is not a common side effect for the general public, but for anyone over 65 or those managing conditions like diabetes or chronic hypertension, kidney function is often silently compromised. Before committing to a high-dose regimen, talking to your primary care doctor and ensuring your renal panels are clear is a non-negotiable step in responsible supplementation. Now, assuming your internal filtration system is running perfectly, the question remains: if magnesium glycinate is truly one of the most gentle and bioavailable forms available, why are you still struggling? The reason this specific compound became so popular is precisely because of its structure. The magnesium atom is chelated, meaning it is bonded to the amino acid glycine. This attachment acts like a natural chaperone, guiding the magnesium past typical absorption hurdles and minimizing the risk of the immediate bowel irritation that other forms, like magnesium oxide, are famous for. Glycine itself is a calming, inhibitory neurotransmitter that naturally supports GABA pathways, adding an extra layer of relaxation benefit, the very definition of a 2-for-1 nutrient deal. But high bioavailability is useless if you actively interfere with the process, and when that interference happens, the negative symptoms are immediate and incredibly frustrating. When your $25 bottle of magnesium fails to be absorbed correctly, it often leads to a phenomenon we call gut irritation, and nervous system starvation. Instead of reaching the brain and muscles to initiate calm, the unabsorbed magnesium sits in your large intestine and draws water into the colon via osmosis, exactly as intended by laxatives. This causes immediate bloating, painful abdominal gurgling, and loose stools or diarrhea. And many people confuse this negative digestive experience with effective detoxification, when in reality, they're just wasting the mineral. Simultaneously, because the magnesium hasn't reached the central nervous system, you fail to get the deep restorative sleep you were hoping for. Instead of waking up refreshed, you feel intensely groggy, like you only got 4 hours of shallow sleep. This fatigue often contributes to continued daily anxiety and restlessness, leading to the perverse conclusion that the very thing meant to relax you is making you more agitated and wired. I've heard dozens of accounts from people who started taking magnesium glycinate only to suddenly develop unexplained muscle twitches or paradoxical headaches. They assume they are having a negative reaction to the supplement itself, but what they are actually experiencing is the chronic consequence of poor absorption. When the body constantly misses the necessary mineral input, even a low-grade deficiency can express itself through continued stress symptoms, completely defeating the purpose of the initial investment. Understanding that this failure is almost always an issue of protocol, not product quality, is the critical pivot point to fixing your sleep and stress regimen. The fact is that understanding that failure is almost always an issue of protocol, not product quality, is the critical pivot point to fixing your sleep and stress regimen. And the very first step where that protocol breaks down is in the stomach. Remember we talked about how glycine acts as a natural chaperone for the magnesium? That bond is what makes the supplement gentle and highly available. But to separate the magnesium from that chaperone, to release the active mineral so it can enter the bloodstream, your body needs to perform a crucial chemical reaction. This reaction requires adequate hydrochloric acid, or stomach acid. If you don't have enough stomach acid, that chelated magnesium compound stays largely intact, cannot be properly absorbed in the small intestine, and sails right into the large intestine, causing the very bloating, abdominal gurgling, and urgent trips to the bathroom we mentioned earlier. This is incredibly common, especially if you are over 50, chronically stressed, or critically, if you are one of the millions of Americans taking popular prescription acid blockers like omeprazole or Prilosec. These medications actively reduce acid production, essentially rendering your expensive bottle of magnesium glycinate useless. But let's assume your stomach acid is functioning perfectly. The next major hurdle is a simple traffic jam in your small intestine. Your body uses specific, limited transport channels to move key minerals from your gut into your bloodstream. These channels aren't just for magnesium, they have limited capacity and they are shared. If you take your magnesium supplement at the exact same time as other major positively charged minerals, and the biggest offenders here are calcium, iron, and zinc, you create immediate competition for that limited entry ramp. Magnesium, which is often needed in larger quantities for its calming effects, frequently loses this battle. This is why taking a high-dose multivitamin, a calcium supplement for bone health, or iron pills for anemia right alongside your magnesium dose is counterproductive. You are actively blocking the very process you are trying to initiate. If you want magnesium to have a clear path to absorption and deliver those calm nerves and restful sleep, you absolutely must separate these mineral doses by at least 2 hours. The third mistake we see constantly is a fundamental misunderstanding of what magnesium does and when it should be taken. Magnesium is not a sedative. It is a critical modulator that promotes deep, systemic relaxation by supporting nerve and muscle function. Taking it right before you climb into bed is usually too late for the systemic effects to kick in. You need to give the supplement time to work its way through the digestive process, be absorbed, and reach the central nervous system. We typically advise taking the dose 60 to 90 minutes before you plan to fall asleep. Furthermore, trying to solve chronic deficiency by wildly overdosing is a recipe for disaster. While studies show efficacy often starts around 300 to 400 milligrams mg a day for general relaxation, pushing past 500 milligrams without clinical supervision almost always guarantees that immediate laxative effect, simply because your intestines can't process that much mineral load at once, regardless of how bioavailable the form is. Before we pivot to the precise strategy that will fix these issues, I have to issue a serious, non-negotiable warning. Magnesium is a powerful substance, and if you have any existing kidney impairment, even mild dysfunction, it can be incredibly dangerous. Your kidneys are responsible for filtering out excess magnesium from your blood. If they aren't working efficiently, the magnesium levels can build up dramatically, leading to a condition called hypermagnesemia. Symptoms start with profound lethargy and muscle weakness, but in severe cases, this buildup critically affects nerve conduction and heart rhythm, posing a significant cardiac risk. If you have been diagnosed with kidney disease or are managing any chronic condition involving filtration, do not start a high-dose magnesium regimen without speaking directly to your doctor first. For the rest of us, overcoming these absorption blockers, stomach acid deficiency, mineral competition, and poor timing, is the key to finally unlocking the calm and rest you've invested in. This is the critical part, the strategy that turns those wasted dollars into real, restorative results. It's not enough to know the mistakes. You need a precise, step-by-step plan that optimizes your body's ability to process and utilize magnesium. I call this the 90-day absorption reset. We're not aiming for an immediate, massive dose that shocks your system. We're aiming for strategic, cumulative success. Month 1, the foundational phase. During the first 30 days, your absolute priority is fixing the absorption issues related to low stomach acid and mineral competition. We're going to start conservative, aiming for consistent, predictable entry into the system. Begin with a modest dose, about 150 to 200 milligrams mg of magnesium glycinate, taken immediately following your largest meal, which for most people is dinner. Taking it with or immediately after food is crucial because the presence of food naturally stimulates the release of stomach acid, HCl, providing the acidic environment required to break down the chelate effectively. Furthermore, you must institute the 2-hour rule ruthlessly. If you take calcium, zinc, or a multivitamin, that magnesium dose must be separated by at least 120 minutes. Focus entirely on consistency and separation. If you feel calm and are sleeping better at this initial dose, fantastic, don't increase it. If you are still struggling, proceed to month 2. Month 2, the adjustment and optimization phase. Now that your body is accustomed to the magnesium and you've eliminated the competition, it's time to find your personal sweet spot and improve sustained blood levels. In this month, we introduce split dosing. If you are taking 200 milligrams, you can now consider increasing the total daily dose up to 300 milligrams, but you will divide it, 150 milligrams after lunch and 150 milligrams after dinner. Splitting the dose prevents the intestines from being overwhelmed, further minimizing the risk of the laxative effect, and ensures you have a sustained level of magnesium available throughout the afternoon and evening. This split dose is also timed perfectly to leverage the natural acid production triggered by both lunch and dinner. If you suspect stomach acid is still a major hurdle, consider adding a squeeze of lemon juice or a small shot of apple cider vinegar in water right before your meals, which is a simple, non-aggressive way to support digestion. Continue monitoring your sleep quality, nerve calmness, and physical recovery. This is where most people begin to see dramatic, positive changes. Month 3, the maintenance phase. If you have achieved your goals, calm nerves, restful sleep, and no negative side effects, you transition into maintenance. You can stick with the effective daily dose you found in month 2, perhaps 300 milligrams split. Or, if your deficiency was chronic but is now resolved, you might try alternating days. The goal of this phase is to ensure your body is receiving what it needs for optimal function without creating dependency. Remember, we are using supplementation to correct a deficit, not replace your body's natural regulation indefinitely. If your diet is consistently high in magnesium-rich foods, like dark leafy greens, almonds, and avocados, you may find you need less supplementation over time. This phase is about listening to your body and using precision, ensuring every milligram you take is fully absorbed and utilized exactly where it's needed in your nervous system. Ultimately, magnesium glycinate is a powerful, beneficial supplement that doesn't work through intensity. It works through strategy. You must respect the fundamental rules of absorption, support your stomach acid, eliminate mineral competition, and time your dose strategically 60 to 90 minutes before bed. By following this 90-day reset, you stop wasting money on ineffective doses and start investing in true rest and recovery. If you are dealing with medications, chronic health issues, or especially kidney conditions, professional guidance is not optional. It is mandatory. This kind of precise, actionable strategy is exactly what we aim to deliver every single time here on Much More Health. We want you to feel empowered and informed about your body. Now, I want to know if you liked the video. Leave a rating from 0 to 10 in the comments so we know if we are on the right track.